The Empire had conquered 17 star systems in the past decade, and Commander was the reason why. Standing 8 feet tall with 4 arms and eyes that could track multiple targets simultaneously, he was the galaxy's most feared marksman. His plasma rifle could punch through starship hulls at 3 miles, and his accuracy rating was a perfect 100% across 10,000 recorded kills. Today, he stood in the pristine white training facility aboard the flagship Dominance, surrounded by his fellow officers. Word had spread that the Empire's conquest, a primitive world called Earth, was sending representatives for integration talks. The humans had requested a demonstration of galactic military capabilities, and High Admiral had chosen to showcase their superiority. "Sir, the human delegation has arrived," announced Lieutenant, her purple skin gleaming under the artificial lights. "They're requesting to observe your training session." His mandibles clicked in amusement. Let them witness true marksmanship. Perhaps they'll understand the futility of resistance. The blast doors hissed open, and 3 humans entered. They looked impossibly fragile to size, with their soft pink skin and small stature. The leader, a woman with graying hair, stepped forward with confidence that seemed absurd given her species' obvious physical limitations. "I'm Admiral Sarah of the Earth Defense Force," she said, her voice steady despite being surrounded by beings that could crush her with minimal effort. "We've heard impressive things about your military capabilities." His 4 eyes focused on her, studying this tiny creature who dared to stand before him without showing proper fear. "I am Commander, Supreme Marksman of the Empire. You are about to witness shooting skills beyond your primitive comprehension." Admiral smiled politely. "We're honored. In return, we'd be happy to demonstrate our own shooting techniques if time permits." The training chamber erupted in laughter. Officers from a dozen different species found the idea hilarious. Himself had to pause his preparation to appreciate the absurdity. These humans, with their pathetic single-shot projectile weapons, wanted to demonstrate their shooting to the galaxy's finest marksmen. "Your weapons fire small metal pellets at subsonic speeds," said, hefting his plasma rifle. "This weapon fires concentrated energy at near light speed. The comparison is like comparing a thrown pebble to a meteorite strike." The human admiral nodded thoughtfully. "Different approaches to the same goal, I suppose. May we observe your demonstration?" Activated the training program. Holographic targets materialized throughout the vast chamber, some stationary, others moving in complex patterns. Some were as small as coins, others human-sized. They appeared at distances ranging from 50 meters to over 2 kilometers, scattered across multiple levels of the facility. With fluid grace, raised his weapon. His 4 arms worked in perfect coordination, adjusting settings and stabilizing his aim. His multiple eyes tracked different targets simultaneously, calculating trajectories and timing. The first shot rang out, a brilliant blue beam that struck a moving target the size of a dinner plate at 1,500 meters. Then another and another. For the next 10 minutes, put on a display that left even his fellow officers impressed. He hit targets behind cover using ricochet shots, destroyed multiple moving targets in rapid succession, and finished by threading a shot through a gap barely wider than the beam itself to hit a target hidden 3 chambers away. When the exercise ended, every single target had been destroyed. 173 shots, 173 hits, many of which would have been impossible for most species to even attempt. The chamber fell silent except for the hum of cooling plasma coils. Turned to the humans, expecting to see the proper awe and submission that such a display usually inspired. Instead, Admiral was examining his weapon with professional interest. "Impressive range and power," she commented. "The plasma coherence is remarkable. I assume the targeting system uses multispectral analysis." His mandibles twitched in irritation. She was supposed to be cowering, not conducting a technical evaluation. "The weapon incorporates 17 different targeting systems," he said coldly. "It is beyond primitive understanding." Admiral nodded. Definitely 3 days after the demonstration, Admiral requested a private meeting with High Admiral. The massive leader received her in his personal quarters, a chamber decorated with trophies from conquered worlds. She seemed even smaller here, surrounded by artifacts of civilizations that had fallen before the Empire's might. "Admiral," rumbled, his voice like distant thunder, "I trust the demonstration satisfied your curiosity about our capabilities." "It was enlightening," replied, settling into a chair designed for beings twice her size. Commander is clearly skilled. However, I believe there may be some misconceptions about human military doctrine that could benefit from clarification. Scaled brow ridge rose slightly. In his experience, conquered species usually spent their integration meetings pleading for mercy or offering tributes. This human seemed to be suggesting the Empire was somehow misinformed. What misconceptions could a primitive species possibly enlighten us about? Pulled out a small device, projecting a hologram of Earth's solar system. Your scouts classified our weapons as kinetic projectile systems using chemical propellants, correct, based on their observations of our conventional military exercises. That assessment is accurate, confirmed. Primitive ballistic weapons, effective only at short ranges against unarmored targets. The assessment is technically correct, agreed, but incomplete. You see, Admiral, we have different categories of weapons for different purposes. What your scouts observed were our police and standard military forces. They didn't encounter our specialized units. Leaned forward, his interest piqued despite himself. Specialized units. On Earth, we have individuals we call snipers. They operate under completely different principles than conventional marksmen. Where your commander represents the pinnacle of direct, overwhelming firepower, our snipers embody patience, stealth, and precision under impossible conditions. The hologram shifted, showing various Earth terrains: deserts, mountains, jungles, urban environments. Human snipers regularly make kills at distances exceeding 2 miles using weapons that, as you noted, fire primitive projectiles. They do this while remaining completely undetected, often in hostile territory, sometimes after waiting motionless for days. His mandibles clicked dismissively. Impossible. No projectile weapon could maintain accuracy at such ranges. Environmental factors alone would make precise aiming unachievable. Smiled that same unsettling smile had noticed. That's what makes human snipers unique, Admiral. They don't fight environmental factors, they calculate them. Wind speed and direction at multiple altitudes, humidity, air pressure, temperature gradients, even the rotation of the planet. They factor in the flight time of their projectile and predict where their target will be when it arrives. She gestured, and the hologram showed a human figure lying prone in tall grass, nearly invisible even when you knew where to look. This is Staff Sergeant Maria. Last year, she made a confirmed kill at 3,247 meters. The target never knew she was there. The shot took 4 seconds to reach its destination, during which time she had to account for the target's movement, crosswind variations, and 17 other variables. Studied the image. The human looked impossibly small and vulnerable, yet spoke of her as if she were some sort of legendary warrior. Even if such a shot were possible, said slowly, the weapon's signature would reveal her position immediately. That's another fundamental difference in our approaches, explained. Commander's plasma rifle is undoubtedly more powerful than any human weapon, but it's also louder than a starship engine and produces a light show visible from orbit. Our sniper rifles are designed for stealth. The muzzle signature is minimal, the sound is suppressed, and the shooter can take their shot and disappear before anyone knows they were there. The hologram changed again, showing a sprawling alien cityscape. Imagine this scenario, Admiral. Your forces occupy a city as they have on many worlds. Commander sets up on a rooftop with his plasma rifle, connected to his power source, surrounded by his targeting equipment. Impressive, visible, intimidating. Nodded, this was standard Empire doctrine. Now imagine a human sniper 2 miles away, invisible among the ruins. No power signature, no energy readings, just a patient hunter with a rifle and scope. Which one controls the battlefield? For the first time in their conversation, felt a flicker of unease. Surely you're not suggesting these snipers could threaten Imperial forces. I'm not suggesting anything, Admiral. I'm simply sharing information about human military capabilities that your scouts apparently missed. Stood, her movements calm and unhurried. We humans have a saying, fear the man with one gun who knows how to use it. It served us well throughout our history. As she moved toward the door, found himself asking, how many of these snipers does Earth possess? Paused at the threshold. That's classified information, Admiral, but I will say this. Every major military force on Earth maintains sniper divisions. The techniques I've described have been refined through centuries of warfare. Our best snipers aren't just marksmen. They're ghosts who can reach out and touch someone from distances your people apparently consider impossible. After she left, sat alone among his trophies, replaying the conversation. Part of him dismissed claims as the desperate bluster of a conquered species trying to appear more dangerous than they were. But another part, the part that had made him a successful military commander, whispered warnings. He activated his communication array and sent a message to the intelligence division. Comprehensive review of Earth defensive capabilities required. Focus on unconventional warfare specialists termed snipers. Priority, immediate. Then he sent another message, this one to Commander. Report to my quarters at 800. We may have underestimated our subjects. As the Empire's flagship continued its stately progression toward Earth, Admiral sat in her modest guest quarters and made a secure transmission to a heavily encrypted channel. The face that appeared on her screen was weathered and with eyes that had seen too much. "Here, ma'am," Sergeant said quietly. "How are you settling into your new position?" "The cargo ship was cramped, but I'm in position now. This asteroid field provides excellent concealment, and I have clear lines of sight to all the primary targets." Nodded. "Remember, this isn't about winning a war. It's about sending a message." "Understood, Admiral. One shot, one lesson, out." Closed the channel and looked out her porthole at the vast star field beyond. Soon, the Empire would learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their numbers. It was their ability to turn disadvantages into weapons. "Though I notice it requires a significant power source." She gestured to the cable connecting his rifle to the chamber's power grid, "and the plasma signature makes you quite visible to sensors." "These are minor considerations when facing inferior opponents," replied, his voice carrying a dangerous edge. "No enemy marksman has ever survived long enough for such factors to matter." The human admiral smiled again, and something in her expression made several nearby officers step back instinctively. "That's fascinating. On Earth, we've developed rather different shooting philosophies. Perhaps sometime we could share perspectives." High Admiral, who had been observing silently, decided to end the demonstration. "Impressive as always, Commander. I trust our human guests now understand the military capabilities they're dealing with." As the delegation was escorted away, couldn't shake the feeling that Admiral's final smile had contained something beyond mere diplomatic courtesy. For a moment, it had almost looked like pity. The emergency council meeting aboard the Dominance brought together the Empire's finest military minds. Fleet Admiral Thane, General of the Marines, Intelligence Director, and a dozen other high-ranking officers filled the war room. At the center of it all sat High Admiral, looking older than his 400 years. Began, his voice carrying none of its usual commanding resonance. "We face an unprecedented situation. A single enemy combatant has demonstrated the ability to strike our flagship with impunity from a range we previously considered safe." General, whose species had evolved from pack hunters, leaned forward aggressively. "One lucky shot proves nothing. We should bombard the asteroid field and eliminate this threat." "With what targeting data?" Intelligence Director interjected. "Our long-range sensors detected nothing. No heat signature, no energy discharge, no movement. For all we know, this Maria could be anywhere in a field containing 10,000 asteroids." Commander stood at attention near the wall, still shaken by his examination of the breach. The precision of that shot haunted him. Every calculation he'd run suggested it should have been impossible, yet the evidence was into their hull. Commander called, "Share your analysis with the Council." Stepped forward, his four hands steady despite his inner turmoil. "The shot originated from approximately 8.7 kilometers away, based on ballistic trajectory analysis. The projectile was a simple metal slug, probably weighing less than 50 grams. It penetrated our outer hull, severed the sensor array's primary cable, and lodged in the inner bulkhead, all without detonating our proximity defenses." "How is that possible?" Fleet Admiral Thane demanded. "Our defense grid should have intercepted anything larger than a grain of sand." "The projectile was too small and too slow," explained reluctantly. "Our systems are calibrated for energy weapons and high-velocity missiles. This bullet traveled at roughly 900 meters per second, fast for a kinetic projectile, but below our defensive threshold. It was invisible to our sensors because it generated no energy signature." The room erupted in concerned murmurs. The Empire's defensive philosophy was based on stopping fast, powerful attacks. The idea that a slow, primitive projectile could simply slip through their defenses had never been considered. General slammed his fist on the table. Irrelevant. One shot is meaningless. Even if this human can hit us, what damage can a single bullet do to a ship this size? Before anyone could answer, the ship's communication system crackled to life. Admiral's voice filled the war room, calm and professional. "Hi, Admiral, this is Admiral. I'm broadcasting on an open channel because I believe transparency will serve us both. I trust you've discovered our message by now." Activated the reply system. "Admiral, you're in violation of several interstellar laws regarding unprovoked attacks on diplomatic vessels." His laugh was soft but somehow chilling. "Unprovoked? Admiral, your ship is currently on a direct course for Earth, accompanied by 17 battle cruisers and a full invasion fleet. I'd hardly call our response unprovoked." The intelligence briefing had been classified, but somehow the humans knew exactly what forces they faced. Felt another piece of his confidence crumble. "That was a warning shot," continued. "Staff Sergeant could have hit your reactor core just as easily as your sensor array. Instead, she chose to demonstrate that your defenses cannot protect you from human snipers." "Impossible," General interjected into the communication channel. "No single projectile could penetrate to our reactor core." "Would you like a demonstration, General?" asked Sweetly. "Sergeant has 17 more rounds in her magazine. Each one can reach any part of your ship. Your engine nacelles, your bridge, your command staff quarters. The choice of targets is entirely yours." Felt his confidence shatter completely. He understood now what Admiral had been trying to tell them. This wasn't about weapon power or technological superiority. This was about a predator so patient, so skilled, that she could remain hidden in an asteroid field and pick her targets at will. "What do you want?" asked finally. "A fair contest," replied. "Your finest marksman against ours. Both sides can bring whatever equipment they choose. Winner takes all. If your commander wins, we'll discuss surrender terms. If our representative wins, your fleet withdraws from Earth space." The war room fell silent. The offer was audacious. The fate of an entire invasion fleet decided by a single combat between marksmen. Yet given their current vulnerability, it might be their best option. "And if we refuse?" asked. "Then Sergeant will continue to demonstrate her capabilities. Your ship has 1,247 critical systems that could be disabled by a well-placed shot. She has enough ammunition to test quite a few of them." Fleet Admiral Thane leaned close to, "Sir, this is madness. We could simply jump to hyperspace and return with reinforcements." "No," replied quietly. "If we retreat now, word will spread throughout the galaxy that a single human sniper forced the Empire to flee. Our reputation would never recover." He activated the communicator again. "We accept your challenge, Admiral. What are your terms?" "Simple. Both marksmen will position themselves in the asteroid field. Neutral observers will monitor the contest. First to score a killing shot on their opponent wins. No time limit, no restrictions on movement or concealment." Felt his four stomachs clench. A duel in an asteroid field against an opponent who had already demonstrated supernatural accuracy and stealth. It was suicide, but his honor as the Empire's finest marksman left him no choice. "I accept," he said, stepping forward, "but I want to modify the terms slightly." Commander looked at him in surprise. Admiral spoke directly to the communicator. "Your sniper fired once and hit her target from an impossible range. I propose we make this interesting, a test of pure marksmanship skill. Each participant gets exactly one shot. Winner takes all." The silence stretched for nearly a minute. Finally, his voice returned, carrying a note of respect. "Staff Sergeant accepts your terms, Commander. One shot each. May the best marksman win." As the communication channel closed, began preparing for what would either be the greatest victory of his career or his final shot. He had studied the humans' methods, analyzed their capabilities, and understood their weaknesses. His plasma rifle might be more powerful, but in a contest of pure accuracy, he still believed technology and training would prevail. He was about to learn just how wrong he could be. The asteroid field became an arena unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. Neutral observers from 3 different species positioned themselves at safe distances to monitor the contest. The rules were simple yet terrifying in their finality. 2 marksmen, 1 shot each, with the survival of Earth hanging in the balance. Commander selected asteroid XK7739 as his position, a massive rock that offered excellent concealment and clear sight lines across the field. His support team had spent 6 hours installing a portable fusion generator and setting up his enhanced targeting array. The commander himself wore full environmental armor, its systems linked to his weapon for maximum accuracy. His plasma rifle had been modified for extreme range, its power output increased to maximum levels. Multiple targeting computers worked in unison, analyzing atmospheric conditions, calculating trajectories, and maintaining lock on potential target positions. He was, by every measure, the most technologically advanced marksman in galactic history. 2 miles away, on a small asteroid barely large enough to hide behind, Staff Sergeant Maria lay in the shadow of a boulder. She wore no armor beyond a simple environmental suit. Her weapon was a modified M82A1, a design that would have been familiar to snipers from centuries past. No computers aided her aim beyond a sophisticated but still fundamentally mechanical scope. She had been motionless for 4 hours, observing wind patterns in the thin atmospheric envelope that surrounded some of the larger asteroids. Her breathing was controlled, her heart rate steady. In her mind, she calculated distances, timing, and the dozen variables that would determine whether her single shot found its mark. Through her scope, she had briefly glimpsed movement on the asteroid, the flash of metal as equipment was positioned. She knew approximately where he was hiding, though his exact position remained unknown. It didn't matter. When the time came, she would find him. Targeting computers had been scanning for hours, searching for any sign of the human sniper. His sensors detected no heat signatures, no movement, no energy emissions. It was as if his opponent had simply vanished into the asteroid field. His frustration grew with each passing minute. Target acquisition remains negative, he reported to his observers. The human may have withdrawn from the contest. Admiral's voice crackled through the communication channel. Staff Sergeant is in position and ready to proceed. The contest begins when either participant takes their shot. The psychological pressure was immense. Understood that his opponent was out there, probably watching him, waiting for the perfect moment. Every time he moved, every adjustment to his position might be giving away his location. Yet without movement, he couldn't locate his target. He decided to force the issue. Rising from his concealed position, activated his weapon's maximum sensor array. Energy beams swept across the asteroid field, seeking any trace of his opponent. The display showed nothing, but the bright emissions from his rifle would make his location obvious to anyone watching. It was exactly what had been waiting for. Through her scope, she saw the brilliant flare of energy from his position. For just a moment, backlit by his own weapon's glow, the alien commander was clearly visible. She had studied her opponent's physiology for days, had 4 hearts arranged around their central nervous system, which was protected by thick bone plates. A shot to center mass might not be instantly lethal, but like most species, they had visual organs that were relatively vulnerable. A headshot would end the contest immediately. Range 3,247 meters. Wind, variable but generally calm in the asteroid's shadow. Target, partially concealed behind technological equipment, only the upper portion of his head visible. Exposure time, unknown but likely brief. Drew in a breath, released half of it, and found her natural respiratory pause. Her finger took up slack on the trigger as she placed the crosshairs exactly where her target would be if he maintained his current position. Then she calculated lead time for movement, adjusted for the ballistic drop of her projectile, and gently squeezed. The rifle's report was barely audible in the thin atmosphere, more of a pressure wave than actual sound. The bullet began its journey across the void between asteroids, spinning through space at 853 meters per second. Flight time to target, 3.8 seconds. Sensors finally detected the human sniper, not through any technological means, but by the tiny muzzle flash of her rifle. His targeting computers immediately calculated her position and began tracking. His finger moved toward his weapon's trigger as his various systems locked onto the target. But 3.8 seconds was not enough time. The human's bullet struck in the center of his primary visual cortex just as his own weapon achieved target lock. The kinetic impact was devastating, the carefully calculated shot placing its energy precisely where it would cause instant incapacitation. The galaxy's finest marksman fell without firing a shot. In the aftermath, as medical teams rushed to recover Spotty and confirm the contest's outcome, the observers' reports began spreading throughout the galaxy. The Empire's most advanced warrior had been defeated by a human using primitive technology and raw skill. But the real shock came when Staff Sergeant finally emerged from hiding to speak with the observers. They had expected to find sophisticated equipment, hidden computers, or some technological advantage that explained her incredible performance. Instead, they found a quiet woman cleaning a rifle that had been manufactured using techniques hundreds of years old. Her only advanced equipment was a scope that, while precisely calibrated, was essentially just an arrangement of lenses and mirrors. "How," asked the observer, genuinely baffled, "how did you achieve such accuracy without technological assistance?" Looked up from her weapon maintenance, considering the question seriously. "Practice," she said simply. "Lots and lots of practice, plus wind reading, ballistic calculations, target analysis, patience, and about 15 years of experience." She gestured toward the distant asteroid where his position had been. "Your marksman relied on his technology. When his computers told him where to shoot, he shot there. But technology can't account for every variable. Wind shifts happen between when you measure them and when your bullet arrives. Targets move unexpectedly. Equipment fails." The observer's recording devices captured every word as she continued. "Human snipers learn to feel the shot. We calculate the math, yes, but we also develop instincts. We learn to read environments, to sense when conditions are right. Your commander was very skilled, but he trusted his machines more than his training." Admiral arrived shortly afterward to officially accept the Empire's withdrawal from Earth space. As the alien fleet began its humbled retreat, she found packing her equipment with the methodical care of a professional soldier. "Excellent work, Sergeant, though I have to ask, were you really confident you could make that shot?" Smiled, shouldering her rifle. "Admiral, there's an old saying among snipers, the first shot is the only shot that matters. I've been making first-shot kills for 15 years. Today was just another day at the office." As the human delegation prepared to return to Earth, word of the contest spread throughout the galaxy. The Empire's defeat by a single human sniper became legend, told and retold among 1,000 species. It marked the beginning of humanity's reputation as warriors not to be underestimated, regardless of their apparently primitive technology. And in sniper schools across human space, instructors would tell their students about Staff Sergeant Maria, who proved that sometimes the oldest weapons, in the hands of a true expert, remain the deadliest of all. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson about underestimating humanity. It would not soon forget.